must once again make clear that which most do not seem to understand. This podcast is marked as explicit, not because it offers a mature look into the world of topics not meant for the young or immature, but because it mucks about in very appalling, gormless, and tasteless filth whilst reveling in it. Cinema Psyops aims to drag you down into the very same muck, filled with sexual deviancy and decayed morality. Cinema Psyops. They heap weekly praise on such filth while discussing the most base and animalistic urges, reviewing the lowest common denominator of low-grade trash ever considered film. When you look at the state of the world around you and you realize how little time you have left to be happy, do you really want to waste that time you have left listening to Cinema Psyops?
Absorbed in it. It is a driving force. You have to have it. I hate it so much that I've seen if it's done to the camera and personal level. And I want to see it banned. I want to see it off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's amazing, but I think parents have to really pay more attention to what these kids are listening to.
Cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such a... It's not right. It's utterly illegal. Why should I respect the capricious, lean-minded, stupid God who created a world which is so full of injustice and pain? Because the God who created this universe, if he was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac. Utter maniac. Totally selfish. Make them blind. Why did you do that to us? Oh, how did God do that? A maniac. You could easily have made a creation which doesn't exist. It is simply not acceptable. Cinema Psyops.
I want to see it banned. I want to see it off the face of the earth.
And welcome to the 370th consecutive week of Cinema Psyops. This episode represents 370 consecutive weeks of both myself, your host, Court, and my co-host, Matt's life.
What? What are we doing? Who are we? Where are we at?
We are 5 episodes away from a full franchise fest, which is bound to be even nastier than this episode, my dude.
Really? Jesus Christ.
There's been some movies that I've been pushing off and pushing off and pushing off and just kind of waiting to do and not wanting to dip my toes into stuff that's too nasty, because you were having a real rough time of it when we had to go of a lot of those films that had that kind of content in it. So I was being nice, and I was feeding you Giallos, and I was feeding you all these other movies to kind of build you back up and make you confident again and make you feel good. And then I dropped something like Siege on you, which has a whole lot of socio-political stuff that means way more today than it ever did when it was made in 1982, 83.
Yeah, man. This says a lot of things that you see from a lot of jackasses in the world, for sure.
Yeah, there's some heavy shit to talk about in this film. I don't think when they made it, I think they were determining to try and make it as prescient as possible. They were inspired by real life events that were happening at the time. There was an actual police strike in Halifax that this movie was inspired by. It actually,
good for them, I guess.
This film actually contains the only existing news footage of the actual 1981 Halifax police strike.
Damn.
Yeah, so they are now. How much of this is inspired by events that took place during that police strike, I don't know. But I feel like the thing that this film is trying to tell us is pretty much right on par with what we feel about the police on this show nowadays.
Yeah, definitely at the very end, it kind of lets you know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. So it's really kind of odd to discuss this film like this, because it's clearly, a Assault on Precinct 13 kind of variation on a theme. The name of this version of it is Siege, but it was also released as Self-Defense.
Yeah.
Elsewhere and things like that. But I mean, this is a quote unquote siege movie that did just so much so that they just titled it that, apparently, for
they
this
just named it
release.
Siege.
Yeah, they're like, this is the vein of movie that here you go. And there's some really great films that are made this way, that are done with this sort of like, crazy folks, sociopaths, blood-sick gang members, whatever, like including Assault on Precinct 13. That's kind of the one that I think of the most when it comes to this kind of stuff, particularly anything like right around the 80s time frame when these kinds of films were coming out. Assault on Precinct 13 was John Carpenter's in the late 70s, and it really did kind of help catapult his career. I know Halloween is the thing that put him on the map for everything, but Assault on Precinct 13 is the thing that got him the ability to get the money to make Halloween. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's the exact same kind of movie, in that for whatever reason a blood feud gets set out upon this slowly dying and closing police station, and like multiple gangs that come together to take them out. Basically. And it's sort of the same thing. A guy goes fleeing into the police station to try and save his life because he killed a bunch of gang members that were responsible for the death of his daughter with a stray bullet. And do you see the similarity in plot? Only it's the sole survivor of a slaughter at a gay bar.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not saying that as a negative towards Siege at all. And the information that I gave out there is not really a spoiler because it's in the description of the movie, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, man, you know what you're in for with this movie. All right. There's no hiding it.
Right. Now, I don't really think John Carpenter John Carpenter does put social messages in a lot of his films, absolutely. And in Assault on Precinct 13, he did have some things to say, but I don't think that he went as indictful as what this film ends up actually fully doing.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of frame that before we do this discussion,
All right. I'm like, I don't know, man. This seems like weird area we're all in right now. So tread lightly.
It's in this time frame for sure. It is an uncomfortable thing to discuss. Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason that I wanted to bring up the stuff that we're talking about, and there is a very serious, heavy message in that, is whatever the message that may have been in Assault on Precinct 13, which is similar to this, the message that's in this, whether they meant it to or not, became unbelievably timeless and super prescient for the time that we're living in now. And it takes place on events that were inspired by an actual police strike that took place in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where it was shot. And the apartment building it takes place in, one last thing I wanted to state, is the actual apartment building the filmmakers lived in.
Right.
So we're kind of seeing a snapshot of their life and these times in the 80s.
Okay.
Which
of these olden days.
Right. Which shows us that as much as things have changed, they're still exactly the same nowadays as well. And when we get into that, we'll obviously talk about it. But this is going to be a heavy episode, is what I'm trying to warn everybody, because there's stuff here that we can't just pretend like it doesn't happen or didn't happen.
We're getting to a long story short, too late situation.
Yeah, I know. I'm done. I just wanted to give everybody warnings. And the last thing is, there's definitely a shit ton of homophobic slurs in this film, so that may be possibly
a trigger warning.
Right.
If you try to watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're doing the thing where you listen to the part of the episode before you watch it, like some folks do that, and then they watch the film and then come back for the review or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing that, just be wary of it. And obviously, we are going to keep those slurs out of this show as best we can. Hence why Matt had very few clips.
Yeah, I only had 3 clips. Trust me, there's no slurs in here. So
awesome.
You won't hear them on this show.
Right. We're not, but we will mention that where they are taking place. So let's stop talking around the film and the discomfort that we're feeling about trying to talk about this film, and let's just talk about the film, right?
Right.
So in honor of the very white nationalist asshole fucking sociopathic homophobes that are the bad guys in this film, up first for the music on the Pirate Radio edit this week is Nazi Punk's Fuck Off by the Dead Kennedys.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin. As many of you probably have heard, Bo will be heading back to school to become a teacher. Congratulations, Bo. As such, I'll be taking over the reins, managing and spreading the good word of Legion Podcast. To kickstart things off, as an added thank you for patrons, Legion plans to have Steam code giveaways for current Patreon backers. A random person will be picked from the Patreon, and the winners can choose from the available Steam codes. Thank you so much for supporting Legion Podcast. You can reach me on Twitter or the Legion Discord group. My username is @LonelyBob. See you around.
This'll keep it quiet. Oh, hi there. I didn't see you. You caught me cutting a new show. I'm Bo Ransdell, and I'm one of the many creators you can find on Legion Podcasts. I said quiet! My fellow podcasters and I work hard to bring you the best in horror podcasting, but that comes at a cost.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Not that, but also yes. No, what I'm getting at is that there are server costs, costs for good microphones and software for editing, all the things that make our shows, fun to listen to. And you can help. If you're enjoying the shows on legionpodcasts.com or in the Legion Network available on iTunes and Stitcher, just about anywhere you can download a podcast, really, you can help us out and get a little something for your trouble at patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. For just $2 a month, you get a pair of movie commentaries exclusive to Patreon, and for $5, you can also join us for a monthly screening of a movie. All of that available on patreon.com/Legion Podcasts. We appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Now, back to the cutting room.
That was Dead Kennedys with the entirety of the song of Nazi Punk's Fuck Off. Gotta love a song that, when you get down to the meat and potatoes of it, is under a minute.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
And it's got a really great message in that all Nazis, not just the punks, need to fuck off.
Yeah, all Nazis really should fuck off.
You have an appointment with daisies to be pushed up.
Yeah. I mean, can y'all just die already?
All right. Let's get into Siege and deal with those Nazi punks that need to fuck off.
All right, Siege, the first 20 minutes here. We are in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's May 29th, 1981. The streets look all sorts of fucked up.
How do we know that it's Halifax in 1981? How do we know this?
The movie tells us. It's really nice. Big words. It's great.
Just pops right up on screen.
You feel really good about yourself.
Yeah. It lets you know where you are right away.
It lets you know where you stand.
I love that bit, and I'm glad I got to bring it back.
Yeah. So, as this guy gives a paper from a destroyed newspaper container, he's kind of reading. He sees some kids pushing a car, and he's like, "Well, need any help?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so he's pushing the car, and he's like, "Where are we going around the block?" Then all of a sudden, a guy starts running up, going, "Hey, that's my car!" And the kids run off, and the guy's getting ready to blame the guy who was just helping. He's like, "Hey, man, I didn't know. Well, I tried to talk to him."
He wouldn't even. He wouldn't even let the guy talk at all. Like, he just was so angry and threatening him. He didn't even give him a chance to explain. I just saw kids pushing a car, and I thought they needed help. I had no idea.
Yeah. Right before anything can happen, the car rolls away though, and locks into a whole nother. It locks into a whole nother fucking car, and the guy's like, "Hey, maybe we should call someone, because we should probably wait for the police." And the guy goes, "Fuck off," and he gets in his car and drives away. So he's like, "Ha, that's funny."
The cost of having to pay the insurance of the car that his car hit scared him more than trying to deal with the police because of his car being stolen.
Exactly. So anyway, as everyone's having fun now, we cut to this guy. He's working on setting up a perimeter around his house with barbed wire, with a no trespassing sign, so you can tell he's probably a real fucking joy to be around. His wife's like, "Hey, I made some sandwiches," because she's being just super nice to him.
Yeah, and he's not putting up this razor wire, barbed wire shit in like the middle of nowhere in the country. He's in a regular fucking neighborhood, and he is circling the perimeter of his home with barbed wire with signs that say no trespassing.
Yeah, right. And
there are ordinances against that. The only reason he can do this right now is there are no police to stop him.
Yeah. So while all this is now happening and no one's really feeling all that great, his wife comes out because she made him some sandwiches, being a nice lady, and he gets all pissy that he doesn't want sandwiches. She's like, "Oh, but I cut off the crust for you," because apparently he's a fucking baby. And
just because he doesn't like crust doesn't mean that he's a baby. He is a fucking baby, don't get me wrong, but just because he doesn't like crust doesn't mean he's a baby.
Anyway, he comes up and eats one of the sandwiches, and then he gets pissed because he's like, "Did you put margarine in here?" And she's like, "Yeah." And while she doesn't really say anything, she's just like, she won't even look at him. And he's all pissed off then. He goes, "What about the kids? Do they eat this?" Kind of like, what the fuck are we even supposed to be caring about?
Well, no, what he's pissed about is that the kids might have eaten the butter because there was butter this morning. And he didn't get any butter because the kids ate all the butter. That's what he's pissed about.
Oh, I see. I thought it's because he was mad because the kids ate margarine, like he was some sort of psycho.
No,
I mean, he is.
Yeah, but no, he's going psycho because his kids didn't sacrifice so that he could have butter today.
Well, anyway, he goes downstairs and works on some shit while he watches TV. We understand that there is a police on strike. The cops are on strike, so there's no cops right now. The first night of this saw some, unrest in the area, but nothing too bad. But some cops are worried that this could cause a major dangerous situation.
I'm gonna stockpile all my guns because cops don't help
To
you.
hell with the police. Yeah, well, there you go. His buddy comes over, and his wife doesn't want him to leave. She doesn't want him to hang out with these guys because they're not good. He gets all pissy and like a baby destroys all her pottery. And then when she falls down crying, he goes, "I'll see you later." And then he leaves because he's a big dickwad. And we're not to like him.
Well, yeah, pretty much when you see him wrapping metal around the end of the stick, you know what he's making.
Yeah.
And there's a special name for that kind of stick that I've heard before that I will not repeat. Depending upon what it is, pick your favorite slur and then add the word knocker in front of it.
Yeah.
That's basically what that thing was supposed to be. Because it's just literally designed to crack a skull because it's just a piece of metal just big enough to hit somebody on the head with it and do even more damage, or wherever you hit with just the metal.
Terrible. Well, he and his buddies meet up, and they are going to this bar, which is an obvious gay bar. They come in, and they say they are the new order, and they're going to change things now.
In between all the homophobic slurs, yes, they do say that.
Yes, with all the slurs that you could possibly think. They give them a ton of shit. The bar owner gets mad and brings out a gun, but before he can shoot any of them, somebody knocks it out of his hand. They beat the living crap out of him, and then he falls off a table and on top of a broken bottle, and this kills him.
It's important to note that they were threatening to sodomize him with a weapon of some sort before he falls off the table on
like
a broken
pipe
bottle.
or a bat. But
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So these guys are absolutely horrible and working through some self-loathing bullshit, apparently.
Yeah.
To be doing this shit. So just wanted to point that out.
Seems pretty bad.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more disgusting.
Seems like some people, if you're that concerned about what another group's doing that doesn't affect you at all, kind of tells me you're mad at all the freedom they have and the bravery to be who they are, unlike you.
Especially if you're going to go so far as to victimize somebody with a pipe to basically rape them, but without having to do it yourself because, you don't want to be quote unquote gay, I guess. And that's why you're doing it. And you're sexually assaulting the person still to have power over them. You very clearly have some very deep issues besides your homophobia to deal with. You self-loathing bastard. Get some fucking therapy.
That's got to be pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, they're clearly sociopaths who just want to hurt people and are using the fact that this is a gay bar as an excuse. But they also are so filled with such vitriol and hate that it seems like a special kind of nationalistic bullshit. Like they're acting like Christian nationalists, essentially.
They very much are. Yeah, you're not wrong. This is exactly how Christian nationalists wish they could act and not be in trouble for it.
Okay, I'm done. I wanted to point that out. I needed to get that out about that sequence. We had to deal with it in some of the themes that are going on with that and what's prescient for nowadays.
So then they are all freaking out. So they call the big boss over. He's checking everything out and he goes, all right, well, we'll just have to take care of everybody. And he starts shooting people in the head. It's weird. The gun has a silencer and yet he uses a pillow to also silence it. Anyway, shooting everyone.
Just the mechanics of silencers and all of that. This film is also guilty of this, but stuffing a gun into a pillow does work to help muffle the sound so that it doesn't echo everywhere a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
Shooting through a pillow with the type of gun like you could use a silencer on. Like, for instance, a revolver, the gas is going to escape out the backs and sides because of the design of the wheel, and it can. So a revolver is always going to be loud unless you also wrap a towel around it and shoot through a pillow. Like you'll see guys like wrap towels around in like the old timey movies. But a gun that has a mechanism that kicks back to reload, like, the 1911 Colts and above, like Berettas, all those kinds of guns that we see nowadays, like that are usually like 9 to 16 shots depending upon how they set them up. If they have
I have no idea. I don't know anything about guns.
Yeah, if they have a kickback mechanism to fire, like you see where it slides back and then forward, then it can usually have a silencer that will pretty much work. But here's the thing about silencers. They take it from like, say, 180 to 200 decibels, depending upon how loud the gun actually is, down to like 100 to 130 decibels. They're noise suppressors. They don't actually silence at all. And firing through a pillow would help a little bit as well, but it's still going to be loud as fuck. So the thing that you always see in movies where gunshots go off and it's like pew, 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 and it's like super, super quiet little pops, not the case at all. They're all super loud. It just takes it down just enough decibels to where you almost think, maybe a transformer exploded 7 times.
All right. That was gun knowledge. Apparently the new podcast with Court Saya.
Sorry. Yes, I'm a little stoned, but on Delta 8. But also, I just want to point that out because I say that a lot, but I wanted to explain why, noise suppressors don't work the way that they're shown in movies, you know?
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So anyway, one dude escapes, he gets away, he runs out of the building, and by the way, through all that's the end of the first 20 minutes.
Well, my symposium on noise suppressors and how they function, that's basically what I was going to do at the 20 minutes anyway, so we can move on.
All right. Next 20 minutes starts a guy, the guy's running through the city, they're chasing him. He gets into a building and kind of loses him. He actually hides in a bathroom, but he opens up a window, so they think he walked out the window while they're in that same bathroom. While one guy is whining how the big bad guy is going to kill him, that guy slips out of the window, but they hear the window slam shut and they follow him. Then we cut to the dude from the beginning of the movie. He's cooking some burgers in his apartment. He's got a lady friend over and then 2 other friends who are both blind, who apparently are visiting from the school of the blind. He gets a phone call and the school wants them to come back, and the lady's like, okay, oh yeah. And she goes, hey, give me a cigarette. And they kind of fight over how many cigarettes she should be having. I think it's only because they only have so many left. And she kind of has, she really kind of gets mad at him, so he gives her the cigarette.
I think it was more or less he's concerned. I think it was more or less he's concerned about her health because she clearly smokes way too much. And
she only had 4 cigarettes that day. That's that's light. It's some light ass shit.
But also, yes, they're
Back
very.
when I was smoking, that's some light ass shit.
Yeah, you were pretty heavily addicted to cigarettes. I've seen you finish a cigarette and use the very last puff of it, the cherry that's still going, to immediately light a second one.
That's when I was drunk. Yeah, and smoking. That's when that happened. I can never do that sober.
And well, you have done that sober when we were working at the.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that I would do because
We were working at the call
you'd have
center.
2 or 3 cigarettes in a 15-minute break,
Right.
just to survive.
Yeah, when you're trying to get the breakthrough, you're trying to get as much cigarette in you before your break ends. I've seen you do that, one right after the other like that.
Oh yeah. No reason to waste your butane in your lighter. Just it's called being conservative.
And that was years and years ago when you were a kid, and your lungs were better.
When I was very young. Now I'm much healthier now.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out, like, I feel like he's sort of almost like a leftist activist because he's always trying to like help people and make his community better, and he's doing like a lot of direct action kind of stuff. So when these fascists come to the door, he almost recognizes the situation automatically and switches into like Antifa hero. Do you get that sensation too?
I get it. Yeah, I think he senses who's the victim and who's not in this.
Yeah, and like him and his buddy are actually like prepared for war. Like they've been reading the anarchist cookbook on a daily basis for fun. Like,
well, not so much him, but his buddy definitely is more prepared for anything. So
right, but the other guy is like Mr. Man of Action and figures out a way to make it work too.
Yeah,
you know, like our main character that we're about to be introduced to. The one that's complaining about all the smoking, but they're also taking care of these guys that are in the school for the blind. They're getting them out and like hanging out with them, and you know they're clearly friends, and they've been working with them in some way, shape, or form. It just feels like there's some kind of a movement coming out of this apartment building, just the way that it's set up. You know what I mean? Whether they meant it to be that way or not, it feels like that. And okay, I'm done.
All right. Well, anyway, we see this dude who's being chased. He runs into the building. He runs into our main characters here. The guys, they get there and they're like, hey, he's actually like an escaped mental patient. And he's like, no, they're lying. They're going to kill me. And he's like, nah, I don't think so. And the guys try to bum rush in. So they push him out and they lock the door. But then they kind of break through again. But then that kid gives him a rifle and they point the rifle at the guys. So the guys then take off and they're like, this ain't over, and like whatever, and they close and relock the door. As the guys are leaving, they're gonna watch the building and call the boss. So the kid who gave the rifle, we see he kind of moves from building to building. This building is one building. It's separated by 2 different entrances, and you can't go in between 2 buildings except for the roof. So the kid's using the roof because his side of the building's on the other side. He also has a little perch up there where he can check some shit out. The lady tries to call the cops, but of course there's no cops, so everyone's kind of freaking out. The guy calls his boss, and they are all watching the building, and that is our first clip.
How many of them were at the crypt?
8.
Did they all follow you?
I think so.
Only 5 of them followed you.
5, 8, it seemed like more.
When he was being chased, I counted 5 pairs of footsteps.
Yeah, I heard 5 feet.
10 feet, 5 people.
Oh, yeah, 5 people. That's what it sounded like, yeah.
I think we should be prepared for a return visit.
Any sign of them?
I can't see anything.
That's the building over there. Nobody else lives around here.
That's right. This used to be my district. I know pretty well.
When did the first people arrive?
Not till 5:30. Telephone operators changed then, and after that, it's busy.
We should have enough time to take care of this problem by then. They're in the back. Said they had a rifle. Yeah, 3 in War 303, I think. You'll be point man.
Point? Point man goes in first. I don't have enough experience.
Point men are usually the least experienced.
All right, I'm glad you chose that as your clip or one of your clips because there is some very telling dialogue going on between these guys to where if you kind of know your brand of fascist, you can know that this particular group of people who are apt to burn crosses are also the type that work forces.
Yes.
And if you don't know what that means, I'm talking about the KKK is the police, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they were started. So great, I guess.
And they're definitely infiltrated all to the fucking gills with white supremacists and nationalists of all sorts, including Christian nationalists.
And by the way, that's the end of that 20 minutes.
Okay, so these guys are these homophobic fucking sociopathic asshats are very clearly police.
Yes.
It's obvious in that clip. If you didn't get it before and you were watching it and you didn't hear it in their voices, they know when the operators change. They know what's going on, not only with the police strike, but the inner workings of the city when things are supposed to be working. And they know how much time they have to basically murder everybody in this building and get away with it before anyone will respond.
And I don't know if they're all cops, but at least like the head guys are cops. Cause like, whiny bitch who's on there and, the guy from the very beginning who's almost probably beating his wife. He's too sloppy and the other guy's too whiny. I don't think those two are cops. They're just two guys who joined this club who want to feel powerful or whatever, because they're fucking cowards.
I think he's.
I do believe the guy who's like, I know this is my route. Who ends up being the team sniper. He's definitely a cop, and I believe the leader guy is definitely a cop.
The other guys I do believe are cops as well, but I think they're like rookie patrolman types that have been recruited or were already a member. Yeah,
I don't think so because one guy is so obnoxiously fat that there's no way. I think the leadership is cops. And I think these other guys, the reason they're so sloppy and terrible at it is because they're not.
The guy that has the board with the metal wrapped around it, I think, is at least a patrolman. That guy. But some of the other guys, I will agree with you. Yes, the rather portly gentleman definitely couldn't have been a cop in the time because I don't think he would have passed the physical parts required for that job, particularly for a beat cop, you know.
And I think that's supposed to be like the message. These people all are from all walks of life. Not only can they be cops, but they can be your regular neighbor or a trucker or a guy who just works in the office next to you. That's supposed to be the whole point.
But they are definitely being led by and
they're being led by two officers.
At least two officers, yes. They're not only sanctioned by the police, they're being pretty much directed in their action by the police too.
Yes.
They are basically just the pawns. Yeah, a lot of the guys that have to go in first, they are definitely pawns. But yeah. I still think the guy, because he basically did all that thrashing stuff to like abuse his wife, I'm pretty sure that guy's a cop too, because he sure acts like one.
Yeah, I mean, with that kind of stuff, yeah, but he's so sloppy. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
It's the early 80s, dude, and he's a white guy in a city. He could get away with being a sloppy cop. You're thinking of it in nowadays terms. When he would get busted, he probably could have gotten away with being a dirty cop for a long time in this time frame in the 80s.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, that's why I think he's a cop. That, and just because I hate him so much, he might as well just be one.
You're just like, fuck it, he's a cop.
We can move on.
Listen to me, Matt.
We can move on, I'm fine.
All right. Let's see here. So the next 20 starts with the guy on the roof. He's the sniper. He's the guy who knows this route. And he has a night scope on it. So you know he's got something going on. Everyone inside the building, they're all kind of freaking out. The lady and one of the blind guys both want to leave, but everyone's kind of like, we don't know what's going on out there. And they're like, no, I'm sure they're gone. And they're like, I wouldn't leave. I just wouldn't. Then the one kid, like I said, he's going from building to building through the roof. Again, there's more infighting in the building about whether or not to leave. The kid also gives the main good guy a bow and some arrows.
A bow and one arrow.
Yeah, bow, one arrow.
Yeah, they're trying to make the stakes be super high for them so that when they actually start to come out on top, you can really cheer them on because they're kicking a lot of ass. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, one of the blind guys, he decides to leave. As he's coming out, then he's deciding to leave. Well, that one guy who's kind of probably the wife beater, he tells the group, he goes, hey, sorry for intruding earlier. This guy is your problem, but I mean that. He is your problem. He's going to be your problem until tomorrow morning. Good night. Trying to make them seem like they do work for the hospitals and saying, hey, listen, we're leaving. Somebody will come tomorrow morning to pick him up. And then trying to make them think, they're leaving. And so, so then the blind guy, he decides to leave. He comes out of the building and they are all there with guns and silencers and they blow him to smithereens and then grab him and toss him in the river.
Real unceremoniously and just basically arguing over who has to shift the weight. They don't even care that they murdered a person at all.
Well, in fact, most of them are arguing who got the kill shot.
Yeah, they're bragging about it. Yes.
Yes. All right, so Then one of the blind guy, he's listening, and he says he can hear a guy on the telephone pole and on the roof. So the woman warns the rest of them that's happening. As the kid is almost going up onto the roof, the guy grabs him. The guy on the roof, the sniper's firing at him, thinks he got the kid, but misses the kid. So then the boss is like, all right, they know we're here. It's time to move in. So our group gets together and they talk, and that is our next clip.
Choices. We hold out until morning, or we try and get out of here somehow.
I still think we should try and leave.
Join Steve. Here, solve this here. We've got to be ready. These guys are going to come in after us.
He's right.
You still think I'm on the other side?
That's it. We gotta draw him into your side, then we can get him through the cabinet. All right. What do we got to defend ourselves with?
We've got the 303, but just 2 bullets, hollow point.
Great.
Didn't you have a whole box?
Chester shot him at the police station the first night of the strike.
Oh, Chester.
Yeah, and we can make a flamethrower like you used to out of the right guard. And we got the hunting gun.
You've got 1 arrow. And a rocket.
It says here it's a model rocket engine.
It's a model rocket engine with real plastic explosive for the warhead. I got that from my diving job. Anyway, the warhead explodes when the engine burns out. It's like a rocket grenade. The screws and the nails are the shrapnel.
This is crazy.
Chester's a fucking psychopath and a badass all at once.
Right? It's nice.
I just love that bit where he's like, yeah, Chester shot up a whole box full of shells at the police station during the first night of the strike.
Oh, well.
I don't know what's more leftist than fucking Chester right now.
Scamp.
So anyway. Scamp Chester.
That lovable scamp Chester. So, then the group outside tear gases the building. There's a lot of shooting happening, but the group gets mass and they can take cover. The guys see the mass and they're all kind of pissed off. They're like, why they have mass? That sucks.
Chester's the kind of neighbor you need in a situation like this.
He really is. So the kid then sets up traps. Chester goes all home alone here and builds a lot of traps, gets a lot of the missile ready, gets shit ready.
I would submit to you that this was first, so he is going all siege and Home Alone went all siege.
Yeah, right. So, but the kid's pretty much being, Chucky here is being Kevin McAllister. So, the group, gets ready, the bad group gets ready to, bust into the building. There's more shooting. Then they decide the order in which to enter. And of course, Whiny Guy is going in first because you could already tell none of them really care for Whiny Guy.
They're just basically hoping he gets shot.
Yeah. The kid says whoever touches the doorknob into one of the buildings, they'll die because he soaked the floor and they'll be electrocuted.
I love how they even show him adding salt to the water to make sure it has more conductivity to it.
Yeah, right.
He's not fucking around. He puts in a ton of salt. He mixes it up. He soaks both sides of the mat to make sure that the water's going through for the conductivity. They basically show you how to rig a door to electrocute someone to death, and how to do it proper.
Yeah.
It's a little scary just how accurate it is, actually.
Yeah, right? No shit. The lady, she sees a guy getting ready to enter. She's using a mirror. She sees the guys getting ready to enter the other side of the building because they think Chester's over there. And Chester's making more bombs while also building this missile. And that's the end of that 20 minutes before we go into the final third.
Things ratchet up awfully quick. And I love how nobody that's in this building, it was never even a question that they were going to give up this poor gentleman just because those guys wanted to kill him. Never even crossed any of their minds. You know?
Right.
Because the only time that the one guy does say it, the main lead guy that's talking about not giving his lady cigarettes, the only time that he even sort of mentions just give him the guy, is in a way of saying is that what you're saying, that we should just give him up? He's disappointed that one of the other people even suggested it that way, and Chester never even thinks twice about it. it's not anything about survival of the fittest. It's this person does not deserve the bullshit that these guys are going to do. And he is also a witness to some horrible shit that these fuckers did. And we need to protect him. Like, they just go right into it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's one of the smallest little pieces of hope that you can get in this film, because it gets real fucking bleak real fucking fast. And it doesn't matter how far, on the side of everything is okay now you think you are in this film. It's gonna just kick you into the genitals, and it's not gonna remove its foot, right? It's just gonna leave it there and grind it a little bit. And then it's gonna turn into a stomping motion. And that's where we're at right now in the next couple of minutes.
Well, let's get going to the final 30, because this is where it's gonna get ramped up a bit.
Yeah, for like an 84-ish minute film, this thing just fucking goes. There's not a moment that you even catch your breath. Even when I can already
tell there's been more to talk about this movie. We're 47 minutes in. We're at this point last week, we were in the final 20 minutes, final 30 minutes. I think we're at 25 minutes, 30 minutes in.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's the way that the film is actually going and the way that it's set up. It moves really, really quickly and it never lets up. And the only time that even our characters that we're rooting for that are in the apartment trying to fight off these fucking Christian nationalist dudes.
Yeah.
The only reason that we get any kind of time to where we can kind of catch our breath is while they're making other weapons to defend themselves, because they know that the next wave is coming at any minute, and they have, they're like a well-oiled machine, man. Like, they know how to work together using the mirrors and everything. And these guys have clearly somehow been trained or have some kind of manner of being able to fight off these fascist dicks. That's why I was saying Antifa basically about them, because there's no other way that it makes sense that the guy would have all these stockpile of weapons and immediately be going into direct action against fascists as soon as they pop up, right?
Right. Yeah.
That makes this movie really interesting to discuss nowadays, when the right is trying to use the term Antifa as a description of someone doing something wrong. When anyone who watches this film that is not a homophobic piece of shit would think that these folks that are going against fascists are doing the right thing.
Yeah. Just seems really weird. Yeah.
Anyway, we should move on. Otherwise, I'm going to keep digging into the socio-political subtext of this film that may or may not be there.
You're really going to go real deep into it.
I know. It feels like it's fucking there though, right? Like, I'm not crazy, right?
No, you're not. It's kind of funny.
I mean, it can't be unintentional. And if it is, then this guy just backed into explaining the difference between Antifa and fascists so beautifully, and how this actually should work.
Yeah, right.
So well without even trying. It's just how well Dolly Parton nailed the idea of socialism with 9 to 5.
Yeah, right. Because working 9 to 5. What up?
Okay, you can stop singing and let's move on to the final 30 for real this time. All right.
The guys, they start making their way in. Blind guy is listening. Daniel, the guy who's been running from the guys, he uses a backpack and puts up in the roof, and so the sniper starts shooting it. Well, of course, that shows Chester where to launch his missile. He launches it, blows up above the bad guy. The bad guy calls the roof dude, the main boss, bad boss man, calls the roof dude, but he is super fucked up. Nails implanted it all over into his face and everything. He's still alive, but it ain't good.
He's still alive, but he ain't happy about it right now.
Yeah, he ain't, it's not what he wanted.
He's almost in enough pain to where he kind of wants it over with.
Yeah, it's it's probably not the way to go.
I'd imagine that besides the shrapnel getting blown into his body, the concussiveness of that C4 blowing up at him like that, because it impacts him and then explodes and blows him across the roof.
Yeah. Oof.
Right.
Harsh.
Right. I'm pretty sure he's got some broken ribs and shit, because he has a hard time moving after this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you can just tell, whoa, that can't be fun. Maybe you should, stop being a fucking idiot.
Fascist dick. Stop being such a fascist fucking dick, and then maybe people won't explode shrapnel in your face.
Yeah, agreed. So the guys get into Chester's place. They check it out, but they can't find him. The sniper, we see him, his radio, he tries to pull it out, but it's destroyed, so he can't use it. So he starts pulling out nails that are in his leg, and he bandages himself. Then the bad guys call back to the bad boss man, and that's our final clip.
I'm telling you, there's no one up here.
Lloyd had somebody pinned down in there.
I don't care. We're here, we looked around, and there's no one here but us.
It's time to take the other side then.
Okay, we'll cross by the roof.
No, not by the roof.
Why, is something the matter with Lloyd? What the hell was that bang, anyway?
Go back down the stairs and up the other side. Is that clear?
Okay, it's clear.
3 of them are going down the stairway. And one is in the bathroom.
All right. So, they go to the bathroom, and like the mirrors on the bathrooms, they open the little part of the wall in there because they're like little cabinets.
Candyman style.
Open up to the other side.
Candyman style.
Yeah. So they put like this little music thing, and the guy hears it, and so he opens it up, and they shoot an arrow and flamethrow him, and that kills him because they put an arrow right through his neck.
The after effect of that, of him laying there with an arrow through his neck, bleeding out, and just kind of staring in disbelief and fear is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it.
The way that the fascists die in this is great.
Yeah. I get very pleased by seeing that because they should. Because they're terrible people.
We can move on now. I'm happy.
All right. The guys run in. They see their buddy dead. They don't know how it happened. They're like, what in the damn hell happened here? They're like, how did this happen?
Yeah,
what's going on?
This would be confusing. Your homie was fine like 10 seconds ago. All of a sudden you hear a big poof and, he starts gurgling and you run back upstairs to check on him. And now he has an arrow through his throat and the rest of the room is perfectly fine. And he's a little singed about the face from some kind of fire.
Big time dead. Big time dead.
That's going to fuck with you, man.
Yeah, it's going to make you feel like shit and, good. Because you're a piece of shit.
Right. Like, how did the arrow get through his neck at such a straight angle? No one knows yet.
Yeah, right. So then the guys decide they're going to go check it out. And then the main guy, he's still in the bathroom. He's alone. And the guy sees him. So he's going to try to use one of the bullets to shoot him. He fires, the gun jams. And so the main, like the bad guy, the abusive bad guy sees him and he starts shooting out of there. So they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. 2 of us are going to go to the building over there. He leaves one at the mirror. If they come back through the bathroom, fucking shoot him and kill him. So that guy's shooting a lot. As he shoots a lot, Chester gets hit in his hand. So he's kind of hurt. The 2 guys go to the other building, and those 2 get in there, and there's kind of been this drunk guy going through, and he might have some issues, but he's like, hey, it's going to be a nice day. That's all he says to people.
Yeah,
sounds
and
nice.
He's got a cat that he's loving on, and it's like super sweet too.
Yeah, so you think this guy seems nice.
He's a troubled dude who very clearly is just trying to get through life in any way he can, and definitely has an alcohol problem.
Yes, and they shoot him dead, or at least the asshole shoots him dead, and you're like, that is a real dick move.
There's nothing more fascist than just taking out someone with some slight mental issue just for the sake of it's fun for you.
Yeah, it's that's pretty fucking terrible. So everyone's just kind of like, wow, real nice. So
yeah, his buddies think it's great, but Jesus fuck.
Well, those guys are going upstairs. As that happens, the blind guy helps fix the rifle they have. So then mirror guy, those guys are coming up the stairs. He catches movement, so he shoots the whiny guy, and he's like, oh shit. The whiny guy falls backwards into the other guy. Main hero takes the rifle, shoots the guy who's standing in the mirror, behind the mirror, in the head, killing him.
That was fucking amazing. So the blind guy knew what was wrong with the rifle by hearing how it misfired.
Yeah.
And tears it apart and fixes it and puts it back together and makes it to where he can shoot that dude in the bathroom through the head, like in one perfect shot.
Yeah, really. I thought that was really, really fucking cool.
The thing that's interesting, the side that you're supposed to be rooting for, which is the side that is against fascism. I'm just going to say that. The side that you're supposed to be rooting for in this film is against fascism, which you should be rooting for, right? They all have these little moments where they are basically super useful and effective for the survival of the whole of the group. They made sure that each member of the team had these little heroic moments like that. You know what I mean? And more so, they all had certain roles that they were specifically really good at doing and keeping track of. Like the lady worked that mirror better than anybody and was able to get certain angles where she could actually follow them and see them where they were going way better than the dude was doing.
Yeah, they've all had a job to do, and they all did their job really well.
Yeah, and they're surviving the night because they're working together as a team against fascism.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah, to be against fascism, absolutely. Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, we should all be against fascism. Fascism isn't good.
Yes, that's definitely the message this film is putting out.
Fascism bad.
I feel like this is like an attempt at edgelord humor in that if you don't think this way, fuck you, don't listen to my show.
Yeah, right. Listen, if you don't think fascism is bad, you shouldn't be listening to us. We're not here for you.
Yeah, we're not the show for you at all. Absolutely.
No, we're the opposite. The asshole, he's going to run away, but then he grabs that doorknob and it kills him.
How Home Alone actually should have been every time those guys touch something that should have burned their hand or whatever.
Yeah, something. I was hoping for more follies like that, but you know what? We got what we got.
Well, I kind of like the idea that the guys just pushed the door out of the way because they already broke it down, right? And they didn't grab the knob. But this time he just grabbed the knob in like some kind of a panic or whatever it was. Or maybe he was going to shut the door behind him or something. And that ends up being his death, like on the way out, fleeing like a coward. That's how that guy deserves to die.
Yes. Fuck him. Fuck everyone who might like him.
Yes, we've said that enough. We can move on.
His poor wife is now free.
This is now a good day for her, yes.
Yeah, everything's going pretty good for her. She's pretty happy.
The only thing she has to worry about is the hefty bill of paying someone to remove all that barbed wire her husband put up before his death.
Nah, they can take care of that later. She'll find it. She'll be fine.
There's bound to be somebody that would volunteer to clean up the neighborhood for her like that.
Yeah. Like, she's already got a new man in bed anyway. It's all right. Everyone's happy.
Wow, you're really extending the fantasy of this woman having a much better life. We should move on.
I want her to have a much better life.
I don't wish ill for that character at all. I just think we're focusing in on this slightly more than we probably should.
Never. We're good. So anyway, the group now thinks everything's over. Chuck's going to go to the hospital to get his hand checked. As he's leaving, we see the leaders out there, so of course we know it's not over. And Chuck gets strangled to death by the leader. So you kind of feel real bad for Chuck. He was doing a good work.
It was still pretty quick the way that he gets choked out, but they do show at least somewhat of the idea of just how long it actually does take to strangle someone to death. I mean, It takes a really, really long time to strangle someone to death. Like, if you're going to strangle somebody to kill them, you are committed to their ultimate demise because it takes long enough to where, like, you really have to fucking work. It's exhausting.
Yeah. It seems really tiring.
Yeah, it's the best cardio you will ever fucking get. My lawyer's advising me to stop phrasing it this way.
How many lawyers is that again?
Just one at this current moment is advising me to stop, but the others are all shaking their head yes.
How many are those?
Enough to make me listen. This is my new favorite response to that.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway, the film does a really good job of actually portraying just how difficult it is to strangle someone and just how horrific of an experience it is. Both the actors do an amazing job in that scene. They really do.
Yeah, it looked really good. So
yeah, it was
good for them.
It was very brutal and very believable and quite horrific. Yeah, and the little knife trick that he has for that switchblade opening up, how that failed and he couldn't quite reach for it, and that's like his last ditch effort, you know?
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, but it looked fucking cool.
Yeah, there's the violence in this, we got to say, is really well filmed. We haven't really spent a lot of time focusing in on it, but the gunplay, the fights, the bashing of clubs and things like that, people throwing their bodies around at each other, all of the fucking physicality in this is really well shot, especially for an 80s film.
Yeah.
I mean, like, these people were obviously giving their all because it doesn't look like they were stunned people. It looked like the actors were actually like putting their bodies on the line for a lot of this.
Yeah. It looked like, this was probably a labor of love for a lot of these guys. So
yeah, and you definitely feel it. It has that atmosphere to the show as well.
Yeah. Then we see Danielle during this whole thing. He was hiding because he was scared, and the guy's like, "Yeah, all of us too." And they're all kind of drinking, trying to, enjoy themselves and, well, not really enjoy themselves, but come down off of all the bad shit that happened. We see the sniper's back up, but his scope isn't working the best. Then we see, the bad guy, he gets onto the roof, looks down, finds where they had kept all the guys' guns. And so he stole their guns. He stole the guns back.
It's really cool to actually watch him pulling them up one by one, real stealthy, like, from the ceiling where they could be reached in Chester's apartment.
Yeah. The group figures out, after talking for a while, they're like, okay, so you're telling me there was a whole nother guy in a black jacket because we didn't see him. And Danielle's like, yeah, that's some real shit. There's somebody bad out there.
Well, he was also describing how that's the guy that actually shot everybody in the bar and just killed them all execution style.
Yeah. So they're like, okay. So they try to leave, but then the door is tied shut from the other side, so they can't get out. So Danielle's going to try to chop through the door, and our main good guy's like, I'm going to go check around, see what I can find. He leaves. There's a lot more stalking around. This kind of feels like filler, the amount of like stalking that's going around.
Yeah, well, the rest of the movie went at such a breakneck pace, then to have one guy start wrecking all of these leftist dudes is kind of weird. And
yeah, right.
The pace just completely shifts, and it's kind of hard to accept when it went such a breakneck, frenetic pace. They want us to slow down now. I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on, man. You guys are killing us here.
But, you know, they got to make it to an hour 20-ish minutes, you know?
Yeah. The blind guy, he decides he's going to go get help. As he's up on the roof, the sniper sees him and shoots him. He's still alive, but bleeding pretty bad. As Danielle chops through the door, he can see Chuck's body outside of the door. So the lady was left with a knife, so she decides she's going to go looking about the place to try to find people. The sniper decides, fuck it, the scope just is not working well enough to stay here, so he gets up and leaves. As the lady's going through, she gets scared and stabs at a curtain. Well, isn't that lucky, because that's where the fascist was hiding, the big boss man. He comes out all stabbed, but he's going to still get her. But then good guy comes out, shoots him. As they're hugging, the bad guy, still not dead, is going to get a gun, but then Danielle comes out and hatches him right in the neck. See you later, shit stain, you're dead. Later on, we see the snipers limping down the street during the next day. Then it cuts to a mom and their child playing catch with the ball. It's 42 days later, and the cops are all back, and everything's back to normal. But then we see the ball rolls to a cop, and we see it's the sniper because his face is all fucked up. He is a cop. Roll credits.
Just in case you didn't get the point, the film shows you that those that work forces are the same ones that burn crosses.
Well, they are. Most of the time. That's what statistics show.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs when it's still happening to this day, but I would actually submit to you that the point is at least people are aware of it and acknowledging it and trying to stop it this day.
Yeah, maybe not enough people, but at least some. More than what we had before.
Right. Well, the point is that it's been made more publicly known, and it can't hide like it used to in this day and age when this film would have probably been seen as, some kind of propaganda bullshit even then, probably.
Yeah, right? So, and there are probably assholes who would watch this movie thinking the good guys were the other guys.
Yeah, they're the kind of people that we like to say miss the point.
Yeah, big time. Same people who listened to Rage back then, loved it, and then hear Rage talk about hating some people, hating these fascists now and going, wait, I didn't get that. What? What happened? Because they never really listened to Rage.
All right, I want to actually talk about the film itself and some of the production stuff. The entirety of this film was shot in 14 days.
Wow.
Apparently, all of the guns in the film are actually real that they used. Whether or not, I don't think they were firing live rounds or anything like that, but they're all very much real guns.
Okay. Seems scary to me.
Yeah, they're very utilitarian and very functional, like military-style weaponry. And a lot of
that would have had to have
weapons.
been nerve-wracking.
Well, a lot of movies use live guns with dummy rounds or no rounds at all.
That's true.
That happens quite a bit. And there's usually a armor or I forget what the specific name is, but there's a person there on set who checks the gun, checks all of the fake bullets that are supposed to go in it to be fired for a scene that are just supposed to be shooting the paper wads or whatever they are in the half the load just to make it sound like the gun's firing for film. Those are supposed to handle it. They're the final person to handle it before it goes into the actor's hands. Everything is checked for safety and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a way to use guns for it to be safe. So to say that all the guns in the film were real is, especially in the 80s, not that unheard of. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And there were still safety precautions that you would hope that they would have had on this set of this low budget film. But the question is, for a film that's shot in 14 days, how did they have access to that many guns that easily?
Probably somebody owns some guns.
It is Canada after all.
It is.
But they use their guns to make movies about how fascists should be smashed.
Yeah. We don't want to blame Canada for this.
No, I really dug this film, and I really dug whether it's obviously a socio-political message or one that I'm reading too much into it in this film. I love what they did.
I don't think so. There's a pretty strong message in this. I mean, that's
all right.
That's not that's neither here nor there. I agree with the strong message. There's a message in this.
I have been accused of reading too much into movies, way more than I possibly should. And
you have.
And I do that.
I'm not going to lie to you. You have.
Yeah, I do that. I definitely do that. And it's all.
But not this time.
Yeah,
I think this time you're kind of dead on right now.
All right. So I really enjoyed this movie, man. It was a brutal watch, and it was really tough to get through.
It was a tough watch, but you did it anyway. You know, this is a kind of an important watch to me.
Yeah. For a 1983 film, it is. It's a really, I agree. It's a kind of an important film because it's still prescient to this fucking day. And I think people should give it a shot. And even though we've told you everything that's happened in it, if you still haven't watched it yet, and if you think you can brave those homophobic slurs that we're talking about, it's definitely worth your time. And the people that are being homophobic are the bad guys.
So you at least have that.
Yeah. There's no one that is portraying any homophobic characteristics involved in the heroism of this film. The closest is when one guy repeats a phrase that the fascists were using to basically point out to the other character, no, we shouldn't give this guy up. But the way they said it is in such a way as to shame them even further for even suggesting maybe they should just let the fascists take the guy. You know what I mean? That's the only time
I hear you.
Even a slightly homophobic phrase. But I don't think they meant it in a homophobic way. I think it's just that he said it just because the other guys were saying it or something along those lines, because he clearly doesn't treat anybody there like less than a person. He actually seems like he wants to protect and take care of all of these other people, even above himself. You know what I mean? Just that kind of character. So, and just the way that they all work together, the fucking, like you said, Home Alone-esque traps that they set to take some of these guys out. The gun violence is really well filmed. All the violence is really well filmed. The physical altercations that happen between these people feel super fucking real. And it's just hyper brutal, hyper realistic. And it's got a really fucking strong sociopolitical message just buried into all that action. Where, yes, you could probably miss it if you wanted to, but if you just wanted to sit back and read into it a little bit, you absolutely don't have to work too hard to get where this movie's standing. And I thoroughly fucking enjoyed it. This was a great watch for me.
This is an important movie to watch.
Well, you don't say that very often, so it must have really hit a really good message feeling for you.
Well, it did, because it's a message that's still being played out today.
Yeah, you are not wrong. I'm not disagreeing.
We didn't change much.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, my man. I'm just saying, it always amazes me whenever you make that declarative statement, because you fucking mean it when you do.
Yeah, it's important.
Well, that's great, man. Do you have anything else you want to say about the film, or should we move on and maybe do a quick news story and call it a day?
I think we should move it on, do a story, and call it a day.
Yeah, like I said, it's a rough watch, but Siege is worth your time, and it does have some great entertainment value. If nothing else, you get to watch fascists die in really interesting ways.
Yeah, the beginning's rough, but then you get to watch fascists die, and that's always fun.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're going to play The Damned with the song Neat, 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 and the lyrics kind of go along with the socio-political message if you really listen. And when we come back, we will have some PSYOP news. I know this thing's super fast for some of you out there, and you're going to have a hard time getting it. But if you could hear and you could understand the lyrics, there is a little bit of that same socio-political message in Neat, Neat, Neat by The Damned that is in this film, Siege.
Awesome. There you go.
Well, let's see if we can get them something fun and something a little less socio-political message in our PSYOP news.
This one comes from my wife.
Uh-oh.
Mrs. Psyop. FBI found horrific Frankenstein-like experiment at body donation facility in Arizona.
Everyone will be coming on my face.
FBI agents stumbled upon a house of horrors after raiding a body donation company in Arizona, discovering a warehouse containing a refrigerator filled with penises, buckets of limbs, pools of blood, and a human head sewn onto another body in a Frankenstein manner.
This is like Traces of Death fucked to porno.
The Biological Resource Center in Phoenix, a for-profit business that assists with people with donating their bodies to science, was raided by the FBI in January 2014 as part of a nationwide criminal investigation. New court documents of the civil lawsuit against the BRC have now revealed more grueling details of the investigation. The Arizona Republic and ABC 15 Arizona Report.
Your bloodshed boner lasts more than 4 hours, he had done.
The former owner of the BCR
for the stabbing fetish, okay?
What? Wow, this is the appropriate name. The former owner of the BCR, Stephen Gore, pleaded guilty to one count of illegal control of an enterprise in 2015.
That's my
and
fetish.
Received a sentence of 4 years probation.
That's my
However,
fetish.
he now faces a civil lawsuit set to trial on October 21st, 2019. At least 30, so this is a past article, of course. At least 33 plaintiffs are suing the body broking business, alleging the remains of their family members were obtained through false statements and their bodies were not stored, treated, or disposed of appropriately. Former FBI agent Mark Seiner stated that he saw various unsettling scenes at the BRC in Phoenix, including numerous dead bodies that appeared to have been played with as a morbid joke. One of the most shocking scenes he witnessed was a small woman's head.
I have no fucking clips for like this stuff. There's some necrophilia jokes, but this kind of like reanimator Herbert West bullshit that's going on in this news article, I got nothing for this.
One of the most shocking scenes he witnessed was a small woman's head sewn onto a large male body like Frankenstein that was then hung up on the wall. The court documents cited by the Arizona Republic also contained a price list for the various body parts. Whole body with no shoulders or head, $2,900. Torso with a head, $2,400. Whole spine, $950. Whole leg, $1,100. Whole foot, $450. A knee, $375, and a pelvis, $400.
Apparently, if you buy a body without a head, it's a much better deal than the other parts.
According to the Reuters investigation from 2017, the Arizona-based BRC received donations from over 5,000 people and distributed more than 20,000 body parts to a number of unknown research facilities or medical training programs. After raiding the warehouse in 2014, agents discovered 10 tons of frozen human remains, including 281 heads, 241 shoulders. Yeah, 337 legs, and 97 spines. Quote, I couldn't sleep at night after seeing that. Matthew Parker, a former agent who raided the warehouse and retired after suffering post-traumatic stress disorder after the case, told Reuters.
I wonder fucking why. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it looked like a junkyard chop shop where they were just ripping things apart. Emily Glenn, who interned at the lab in 2013, also spoke to Reuters about her experience at BRC. Over the course of the internship, she said that she dismembered numerous bodies without any formal training or instruction. She even claims to have decapitated an elderly woman with what looked and sounded like a chainsaw from Home Depot.
Wow.
The body broking industry remains remarkably unregulated in the U.S., especially in Arizona. Until a new law was passed in 2017, body donation companies in Arizona didn't even require a state license to practice their business. So, holy shit.
That's fucking grim and dark. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone.
You were supposed to cheer everybody up.
No.
You were supposed to bring balance to the force, Matt.
That's not what happens here. That's there's no more news like that. There's no more cheery news anymore.
There is cheery news out there somewhere. Somewhere a fucking cat is being taken care of by a koala or some shit, man. You're just not finding it. You're purposely bringing us down to the level of fucking hate and self-loathing that you're at.
Welcome to destruction. Population, all of us, motherfuckers.
This is very Republican of you, where you're like, I am currently suffering, therefore everyone else must suffer.
For everyone. It's not I'm trying to make everyone suffer. It's just I'm currently suffering, so all the things I look for are suffrage.
Hurt people, Matt.
Hurt people, hurt people. People helping people. People hurt people. Hurt people, hurt people.
It's a vicious fucking cycle. Let's move on. We're going to play the Ending Legion show promo, and we're going to play a little bit of Sam Hain after that with, well, they just call it All Hell, but it's the song All Hell Breaks Loose, originally played by the Misfits, right after this.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick Six Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, Two Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.
That was Sam Hain on the Pirate Radio Edit with All Hell Breaks Loose. I know the holiday is actually pronounced Samhain, but the band itself, I'm pretty sure, still pronounces it Sam Hain, folks.
Well, that's good for them.
Yeah, they're pronouncing it wrong, and I'm just repeating their bad habit, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. Or at least...
Well, maybe that's just how they wanted to make the word sound.
I don't...
Words don't have to control us, Court. Not anymore.
I would hope certain words could control you, like stop.
Never. Well, I mean... It depends. If it's you telling me to stop annoying you, never.
Well, that's fair. If you'd like to find all the previous 369 instances where Matt has fucking irritated me on this show, all of those are available at legionpodcast.com/cinema-psyops-podcast. Jesus Christ, man, we can't add any more dashes to that URL, please.
No, there's way too many dashes. I think I heard a niner in there.
Once again, making that Tommy Boy reference like you did last week.
Got to. It's important.
It's the only thing that you're living for these days.
It's all I have, man. What's wrong with you guys?
I'm not trying to take it from you. The easiest place and the best place to find me currently is in the Legion Discord chat. I believe our man Gary Hill from the Cinema Beef, also known as the Butcher Shop podcast, because he put all of his podcasts together under one brand of the Butcher Shop. So yeah, it's the Butcher Shop now. But he's joined very recently. I've been chatting with Gary there on Legion, and Matt's there once so far, but he may show up again. We'll see.
I do weird things, man. All right? When I have time.
Yeah, he accepts messages and then ghosts people for years upon time. Just deal with it.
As of right now, my time is very limited.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Matt is a very, very busy, very, very stressed out man at this current point.
Yes. Life's weird.
One of the places that we can try and make your life a little bit better, especially when you're working all the goddamn time, is our cinema_psyops Instagram, where thrice daily during my working day, I will post memes for the working person.
Gotta get them memes, man. The memes will help you feel good about yourself.
If you're toiling and struggling to survive, you count as a working person in my book, and those memes are for you.
Yeah, memes for the working people.
Also, if you're just a fan of the show, I will then go ahead and share them to our Facebook group, Cinema Psyops, via our Facebook page, also titled Cinema Psyops, which is actually probably a smart thing to do in your podcast. It's called Cinema Psyops.
I would think so, yes.
You can also reach me on Facebook as Court Psyops, because that is where I'm at occasionally. And then, of course, everybody knows my email, cinemasciopscourt@gmail.com. I usually make some kind of a reference to some kind of weird diatribe that you're going to write, and then I will not read or will read and then not respond to, or something along those lines that I'm trying to be funny, but Matt just wants to get the fuck out of here this week, so kick the fuck out of this week and make it your bit.
Go.
Hey, start recording on your side.
I am recording. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, fuckers, religion's bullshit. God's not real.
Jesus.
It's like my favorite quote of you. It's my favorite clip to pull that, like, is kind of the opposite of how you feel, or at least it used to be at the time when I pulled the clip. Skype's trying to make me update, but I'm going to tell it no.
Yeah.
I'm on the line, Skype. You can fuck off now. All right, so there's 3 total clips from Siege?
Yep.
All right, and Siege is totally the movie that you did. You got all the stuff that I was talking about?
What do you mean?
The rampant homophobia and all the...
Oh, God, yeah, that's why there's only 3 clips.
Yeah, I was trying to give you a forewarning up front, so...
Yeah.
All right, I got all the clips, and I've got the music for the week, and I've got the clips show stuff, because we may move through this one quick, too. I don't know how this is going to go, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But let's just rock and roll right now. Here we go. Jesus, man, Skype is making my computer go crazy. I don't know, just like a bunch of stuff just started opening on its own, including the App Store.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm just going to shut off the keyboard thing and hope that helps. I think that's what's doing it.
All right.
Hang on. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
But just 2 bullets, hollow point.
Great.
Didn't you have a whole box?
Chester shot him at the police station the first night of the strike.
Chester.
Yeah, and we can make a flamethrower like
Lovable
you do out of
scamp
the right
shooting up a police station on a strike.
Got the honeycomb.
Oh, Chester. Boys will be boys. So he leaves, and... sorry, I'm exhausted. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm lost already.
I thought you were Psyop. I'm Psyops. Mrs. Psyops would be my wife.
Oh, this is Mrs. Psyop. However you want to do it.